Hey Guitar Ninjas! I got asked the other day how many instruments I own and how many instruments I can play, and I thought I might as well just go through my instruments and explain them. As most of you will know, obviously I play guitar, bass, drums, and I try and sing. I mess around with other instruments as well, and then I also own quite a few instruments that I can't even play yet. But I will get round to it. What I'm going to do is start a series of making songs using all the instruments I've got and making a fun challenge out of it. I've got a few different ideas, but they're all going to involve having your input. So you'll be able to comment what style, what instrument I use, what perhaps forfeits I might need. Yeah, going to be really fun and interactive to get you guys involved and make this channel a bit more fun for you and not just me playing guitar all the time. The first guitar I'm going to talk about is this Crafter. So this is probably the oldest guitar in this collection, or at least very close to it. I bought this acoustic guitar over 15 years ago now. This has probably seen more gigs and stages than any other guitar. I don't know how well you can see, but there's plenty of dents and chips and things, but it still plays well. I love it. The bandana at the end is just decorative. There's no real need for it. There's actually a guitarist called Andy McKee who does a lot of fingerstyle that uses it. So yeah, that inspired me and I basically copied. I like to be original, but that one was definitely a copy. So to make sure that I don't miss any, I'm just going to go in order of the way they're laid out. So the next one is the bass. Now I actually only own one normal type of bass. I do have a second bass, but we'll come to that later. This is just a Fender Squier P. In fact, it is Fender Squier. So one of the cheaper ends. You can see the old Trivium sticker that was put on there before I even bought it. I don't mind Trivium, so I'm happy that that's on there. But not a major fan. I wouldn't necessarily pick their sticker over other people, but I do like them, so that's why I've left that in place. Basically, this is a tool to do its job. I enjoy messing around on it and I do have fun with it, but I would like to get a slightly higher spec bass at some point. Every track you've heard me release, all of my backing tracks, the bass has been on that one for every single one. So whilst I'd like a better bass, it has been really helpful and useful. So next one along, this is the Ibanez 7-string iron label. You can see that it's got that quilted maple finish, ebony fretboard, 7 strings, so that gives you all that extra low chug, 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 and just the gold hardware with the mother of pearl trim and stuff. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I bought this for myself secondhand this Christmas, so we're talking just a few months ago now, for about 300 quid, which is an absolute bargain for it. So anything that involves lower tuning would be on that. The next guitar here, I'll let you show it. Bought just as spare guitars for my guitar clubs that I run, so that students could have a go with a guitar if they hadn't yet got one. Fairly cheap, not bothered about it, but plays well for its price. It's by a brand called Redwood, and there's a couple more of those that will come up. All there just mostly bought for spares. Now this next one, I snapped the high E and I haven't restrung it yet, but this one is actually quite cool. This one I bought again just as a random spare one, but it's a Strat, and it's on the scratch plate it says made in Japan, but there's no name, there's nothing listed on it, but it sounds and plays really well. I actually have no idea where this was originally made, what brand it is, what country, although made in Japan on the scratch plate, that's the best guess. Ooh. There might be some hints on the back of the bridge, because the bridge block is a slightly unusual shape. So that might give me some pointers. I might have a look into that at some point. But yeah, plays really well. The neck single coil sound that I like out of Strats, this gives a really similar sound. So if I'm playing something and I really want a single coil sound, there's a good chance I'm going to pick up this guitar. Even though I got it for like 25 quid as a spare guitar, but actually plays really well. So the next one is another one of the Redwoods that I said earlier. This one looks gorgeous. I've done like tests and reviews on this. It was only 120 quid new. That finish for that price, oh god, all those fingerprints, but that finish, you can see it's gorgeous. So again, great guitars for the price, but not much more to say on that. They were bought as spares. Trying to go through these relatively quickly because there are so many instruments and the guitars are just one part. Okay, so this next one is the Halo Custom. Now, this one is really special. This one was built to spec. Halo make custom guitars. I placed an order with them quite a few years back now. Got this built to my exact specs and shipped over from California. We've got locking tuners. We've got an Evertune bridge, which if you've not experienced these, they are amazing. So I've got this currently, so 3 strings are locked. I can bend them, but they don't change pitch. And then I've got 3 sets so that the Evertune's not doing its job, so I can bend them. Love it to pieces. Was very expensive. But I did actually have some help from a friend of mine called Tom to pay for this, who is absolutely amazing. Thanks again if you're watching this, Tom. Next one. Now this is where we get to the peak of special. Out of all of my instruments, this one means the most to me. This electric guitar I made when I was at school as a GCSE project. The body shape, as you can see, is completely original. The pattern on there, I actually got as a tattoo as well. I don't know what things I've actually used in here. We've got a Floyd Rose that was in a Jackson guitar. We've got either Alder or Swamp Ash as the wood. I bought 2 sets, can't remember which one I used for this guitar. The pickup sounds amazing. I have no idea what the pickup is and I really want to know. It looks similar to some Bare Knuckle and some DiMarzio, but yeah. And then that Chinese dragon in mother of pearl along the neck. This was 3 to 4 solid months of every lesson that I could, lunch breaks before school, after school, every minute I could spend on making this I did. Really proud of it. Oh, and because it needed to be graded, the back's all clear so that they could grade it without having to take it apart. So really special guitar. Actually plays and sounds well, not just special because I built it myself when I was 14, but also really special because it plays really well and I just love it. Next one. So this is the last in the stack of the guitars that I want to pick up regularly. So I've got a couple of different racks for different things. This one is a Michelangelo Batio signature. I've actually done some reviews on this one. So this is the Mab Gauntlet 4 with the awesome snakes, blocks, Floyd Rose. Now this is the only guitar at the moment that I've got with the Floyd Rose set up properly. So it's floating, I can dip, I can dive bomb and squeal on it. And as you can see, it's got the Michelangelo Batio logo there on the back. Another really awesome guitar. This one was actually brought for me by one of my exes. We went to a guitar show. I was really interested in it. The price for what it is was amazing. And yeah, she ended up grabbing it for me. I don't know if it classes it as mine or if I'm borrowing it and it's hers now, but hey. Yeah, either way, that one's there for whenever I want to squeal and dive. Being a dean in that, Michelangelo Batio, all the high metal, so your Pantera style stuff. I'll pick up that. So that's the main guitar rack of my favourite babies. Let's move on to the second rack. Okay, so this rack is mostly oddballs and unusual things. So I'm sure I'm gonna get some fun challenges out of these. Now, this is my favourite one, and this was at the same show as the Dean that my ex-girlfriend bought me. So this one I got myself. This one is a uke bass, and the strings are fat rubber bands. Check out that wobble. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Don't know what that was. Anyway, so absolutely love this. It's actually an awesome instrument. It's electric and active, so it takes a battery, and this actually gives such good bass. I wouldn't have thought it with how small it is and quirky, but it sounds amazing. I definitely need to do some more tracks with this. I have used it in the past for tracks, but I'm not sure if there's anything released on this channel that uses it. But awesome instrument, love it to pieces. Next on the rack, another one of the Redwoods. So this was a 3/4 size, so a dinky guitar basically. And this is so that the younger students that come to the club that don't yet have a guitar have something to borrow when they're there. That's the only reason I've really got it. But it plays well enough, I tinker around and play with it. So yeah, that's a nice little 3/4. Next one, oh yeah, I've got this set in such a way that they squeeze in there. Care more about the side than this guitar though. This is an Encore guitar. Anybody that has been playing guitar for any length of time and knows anything about brands knows that Encore are not good guitars. They give you something to start with, but the second you can upgrade, you want to do so. This one is in fact, I've actually got locking strap pins on this one because this is my, I will put it at risk guitar. So when I've done the backflips on the trampoline, when I did the Guitar Ninja without an amp or whatever I think I called it, those videos used this guitar because if it got smashed in half, I would only be a little bit upset compared to the others where I'd cry. This next one, this one's really cool. My brother-in-law, he plays guitar as well, and so does his son now. And yeah, this was one of his guitars. He's taken bits off of it and put them on other guitars, and this kind of just became a stock of spare parts. Hence the reason why we've got white plastic on a black Jackson. It's just weird. But this guitar, he's given to me to do whatever the hell I want with. So I'm going to do some weird things with this at some point. I've thought about stringing it up so all 6 strings are like the heaviest gauge I can. So they're like all 56 or something stupid like that. With a Floyd Rose, that's going to be a pain to set, but it would be funny to see what I can do with it. Suggestions for what to do with this would be awesome. Throw them in the comments and we'll see what we're doing. Right, if you're still with me so far, we're almost getting to the end of guitars before we move on to the next stuff. So then I've got a left-handed that's also got a string snap. I've not been good at maintaining this because this was brought as a spare for left-handed students. However, I've only got a couple of left-handed students and they've got their own guitars. So this is going to be sat out the way for a while. It's not been treated well. So I need to string it up, and I'm sure there were some challenges for me to play left-handed. I did use this to learn to play left-handed. I spent 1 month learning and it's amazing. It doesn't matter how good you are right-handed. Swapping that over is mental. You can know everything about where you're meant to be playing, but getting your fingers to do it, whole new story. So this is a Santos Martinez Electro Classical. It's actually a beautiful bit of kit that I have not treated well enough. I mean, I've not beaten it up, but it should have some really nice strings on and be well treated. It's got a bit of a grubby fretboard, and these stickers were to help students see where I was playing. So I put stickers on a guitar. I don't like doing that, but I put stickers on a guitar to help my students because there's no fret markers. With brand new strings though, you start to realise why people will spend a lot of money on a classical guitar, because this is amazing. Now, this I got from a guy called Joe, a Scottish guy who worked in reception at an engineering firm that I worked in at one point. And he played guitar, was really passionate and good with it, and he got me to do some work on one of his guitars, set it up and fix it, and he ended up with 2 of these for some reason, and ended up giving me one of these as payment for fixing his guitar, which is amazing. The work that I did for him was probably under 50 quid's worth, and this has got to be about 350 at least. So really, really appreciative of that. So yeah, that's the interesting story behind this one, was it was actually payment for fixing a different guitar. Okay, so that actually concludes all of the guitars, I believe. All of the standard guitars. There's still ukuleles and a guitarlele, but we'll come to that in a second. Sticking with the stuff whilst I'm sat on the floor, we then have a didgeridoo. Or a didgeridoo, as a lot of people have told me. This, I've been wanting to get a didgeridoo for ages, and I was on holiday with an ex down in St Ives in Cornwall, and we went down one of the little streets and found a shop that had this in, and I just couldn't let it go. I was like, I've got to get it. And then we went to the, went back to the car. We went back to the car and we decided to try and give it a go. We had no idea how to make the sound work properly. We'd been shown once in the shop on a different didgeridoo. So we had a go, and we spent more time laughing than making sounds. All you heard was like a quick little fart noise and then us laughing more than the actual didgeridoo. Although I seem to have it today, so that's good. There you go, my didgeridoo. Next you see here, we've got a keyboard. This is an old, cheap keyboard. It is nothing fancy, nothing special. It's the kind of thing that a kid gets for a Christmas present where him and his parents know nothing about keyboards, so they just grab what they can out of Argos or whatever. But I've just noticed today that it's actually got MIDI out, so it might work as a MIDI controller. And if that's the case, this might come in more handy soon. I was looking at buying a new MIDI controller, which I still think I will because this is big and bulky, but if that saves me a bit of time and I can use this, that would be really cool. Standard keyboard, like I say, doesn't do anything special. I don't even think it's the right age to have the DJ key, but I don't even know if it has that. DJ Dictionary. Okay, last few bits on the floor. I have, let's start furthest away from me. So I have a Cajon. For anyone that doesn't know what a Cajon is, it's a sit-on drum. So you sit on the top and you hit the sides. The middle with the palm should give you a nice bass. And then the edges should give you a nice snare. However, this is not tuned up well at the moment. I need to give it some love. I've just repaired one of the feet because it came off. Cajon, I'll definitely do some stuff with that. I love the sound of Cajon with some mellow acoustic guitar. I think they work really well together. So I definitely will do some things with that at some point. The djembe. This one I love because you can really get some bass. I have to hit it hard to get bass. So with the microphone I got on right now, it would probably distort and sound horrible. So quite bassy. Lots of stuff I love to do with it. Does need a bit more of a tune and tighten up. But the one thing I don't like about this is all the string is a nylon string. So when I try and pull through, I end up getting burns and blisters more than actually tuning the drum. So that will need replacing at some point, but I don't use it enough to justify the time and money to put into that. Next, we've got the little drum kit. I'm sure you're well aware of this. It's quite well tuned up, to be fair. If it had some good cymbals, then it would actually be an okay kit, surprisingly, for the size and price. Yeah, it's still definitely not a good drum kit, but surprisingly good for the price. And then last, this one definitely needs a clean. This is a Congo. Congo. This is a drum. This one is actually my brother's, and he said he's got a second one and he's letting me borrow it at the moment. I think it's also because he wants space in his house. I think it's a favour for him as well as a favour for me, but I'm going to do something with this at some point. This has only just come into the house, so I've not done anything with it before. It sounds pretty good, but I think that and the djembe together could be an interesting kind of mix to do with some other stuff. So that wraps up the instruments on the floor. Now I've laid out other instruments on the side and got a couple on hooks, so let's go through those. So this one here is a ukulele. It's an electro ukulele, so I can plug it in, which is really, really cool. It sounds quite nice as well. I also really like the design work that's kind of burnt in, so it still looks really natural, but we got this nice sort of image. Sounds great and beautiful. I actually bought this whilst I was down in Camden. I was down in Camden, actually. Why was I down there? I think it might have just been a random day trip down Camden. But yeah, ended up buying this down there. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the shop, but it's just across the road and up a little bit from where Cyberdog is. So anybody that knows Camden in London, there's a guitar and ukulele shop round there. And that had that in it, which I thought was really cool. And then I found its bigger brother. That's a tenor uke. It's quite a small tenor. It's like between tenor and soprano almost, but that is a tenor technically. This one isn't. This one's 6 strings on here. This is a guitarlele. So this has got 6 strings like a guitar, but it's smaller like a ukulele. You can see it's not a huge amount bigger than that uke. But what this basically is it's tuned so the top 4 strings are like a ukulele would be. But then the other 2 are tuned relative like it would be a guitar. So you could either see it as a ukulele with 2 bass strings, almost like taking a guitar with 6 and going to 8 strings, or you can see this as a guitar with a capo on its 5th fret. So we can play our normal guitar chords, but instead of that being a G chord, that was actually a C chord. So it kind of moves it all up by 5 semitones. So instead of an A chord, that would be a D, and so on. So they all kind of moved up, but it means if you just want to change the key of a piece of music higher, you could play the same chords. Yeah, guitarlele, I think it's awesome, and I quite like doing acoustic covers on it because it forces me to go into a higher range, and for some reason I like that. Below the guitarlele and the ukulele, we've kind of got this little corner. This is only set up for this video, by the way. They don't live here. Harmonica. Just literally bells. As in, they're not called literally bells. Literally, they're just bells. Cas, and yeah, let your imagination think about what they look like. Basically just shakers, but there's certain techniques you can do with swinging them to make impacts, where you want them to clash and things like that. I've seen some really amazing work with Cas, however, I don't know how to use them. Not much more than as shakers. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff that almost reminds me of using nunchucks that I see people do, where they rotate them around their hands. After that, we've got a little pocket stylophone. Boop, 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 boop. It's got batteries! Might need to clean the end. It's difficult to get contact. This one I know the batteries has died on, so I need to put some new batteries in this and check that it still works before I actually try and do much with it. But this is another form of stylophone. This I think is called the Stylophone Beatbox or something like that. But yeah, it's got some drum sounds. It's got 3 different settings. So each one of those little pads will make a different sound depending on which setting you're on. Oh, it is set out like a circular keyboard as an octave. So you've got your 7 natural notes and your 5 sharps or flats. That's quite cool to know. There we have the Korg Monotron. This is an awesome bit of kit. Yeah, so it's pretty good for making random laser noises. There are plenty more sounds you can get out of it, but again, the batteries are dying. So that little corner is all battery required, and yeah, they all kind of need new ones. These are kind of sat in a little bag of fun instruments. I've taken them into a couple of nurseries to let the kids have a go with them and get interested in music, along with a few ukuleles and things a few times. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Did the same with the drums as well. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so sorry about the horrible yellow light. I can't really do much about that. The blinds are the best thing I can do right now. So let's go through the last batch of bits and bobs. So I have got a ukulele. This one was my first electroacoustic ukulele. This one I grabbed for fairly cheap actually online and has been used for quite a few bits and bobs. Mine actually been used for more stuff than the smaller one I showed you earlier. Yeah. So really enjoy that ukulele. I guess I learned most about ukulele on this really. Played around a bit with smaller ones. So my old band Padding Needed, we had a load of red and blue ones like this. This is actually the only one left. And I understand why it didn't sell. Yeah, that needs some work. Oh, and some tuning. But I can get that sounding good. I can get that working. The electric ukulele, designed to look like a Les Paul by Clearwater. This is like the coolest thing ever in my opinion. With this and the uke bass, I was actually grabbed them with the idea of starting a group I was going to call Punkalele, and it was just going to be pop punk and punk songs on ukuleles only. And I thought about trying to get a drummer with one of those smaller kits, because you can get small kick drums and like piccolo snares, and I thought about the whole idea that the whole band had smaller stuff, but it was amped up and rigged up to sound like full equipment. And I thought that would be really cool. It never really happened, but I've still messed around with this and had a lot of fun. So yeah, electric ukulele, and the answer is yes, you can shred on it. Next one! This ukulele is really special to me. I don't know if you can see on there, but it is signed, even with a cool picture, by members of Walk Off the Earth. Now, if you don't know who they are, they have an amazing channel. They originally got famous, I think, for 5 people playing one guitar. However, they've done loads since. Sarah and Johnny, the main ones, absolutely love them to bits. And I'm really lucky to have, as everybody knows him, Beard Guy, actually having his signature and his doodle of his face on here, because unfortunately he is no longer with us. And he was such a big character of Walk Off the Earth, so yeah, I think it's also Marshall that I've got on here, so the lineup's changed quite a bit. But that's really important to me because I absolutely love the group and think they're awesome. So, next little pocket, we are now into some more percussion things. Got... Ow! Do not do that with your fingers, that hurts! I put this on my Amazon wish list for Christmas a year or 2 ago. Still haven't really used it for anything. It's a lot higher pitched than I thought. I thought I was going to have a high and low. but what I've got is a high and higher. So I haven't done anything with those whatsoever, apart from own them. What else have I got? I've got an Irish drum, but I've lost the beater, so it's like, becomes just a hand drum now basically for me. A recorder, yes, the standard, cheap, horrible sounding, like when you're a kid at school learning recorder. Yeah, hot cross buns is probably about all I'd pull out of that if I really tried right now. Tambourine. This is one of my most favourite percussion instruments in the world. This is called a Vibra-Slap. So we've got a box at the bottom with loose pieces of metal in that will vibrate when we hit this ball. Chances are you've probably heard one of these before without knowing what it was. Now the next two instruments I'm going to come to are these two. Really quirky and weird. I don't know how well you can see that. These are both Chinese origin. They're not anything special. These are the cheapy ones that I've managed to get hold of online. They were on an Amazon wish list as well. In fact, the ex that brought me a couple of guitars, these were gifts from her dad or family. However, I still haven't learnt how to use them properly. This one, I've got a rough idea on that flute, like blow over the hole and not into it sort of idea. There you go, I can get some format of sound out of it, but that's about it. And this one, I still haven't even worked out how it properly works, because it makes two noises if you put enough pressure in. So yeah, I literally have no idea what I'm doing with this. I will happily learn how to use these for some videos, so that would be good. I think this is a fiddle or a viola, I think their name is, because I don't think this is a full violin. Or perhaps it's a half-size violin or something. I don't know the difference between them all. To give you an idea, if somebody brought a double bass, a cello, and then all the different types of then smaller instruments, I would recognise the double bass and the cello, and every other one that's smaller than a cello I would probably call a violin, because I'm very uneducated as to what is what. I knew the tuning and how to find some notes at one point. I can't remember it, but it wouldn't take me too long. However, I never really mastered using a bow. So again, another instrument that I don't really know how to play, but by all means will have a go at learning for one of my YouTube videos. With all of these instruments, if there's any in particular that you want to see me have a go at, by all means leave things in the description, and I will try and get round to whichever ones are requested the most first. Saxophone. Now this is the last one on the list. This is the last instrument. I've got an electric drum kit upstairs, but it's just a standard electric drum kit, nothing special. Saxophone, I can play some bits and bobs, but not much. And the reed on this is cold and dry, so... There you go! I can make some noises out of a saxophone. So there's every single instrument that I could think of finding right now. I'm sure there's probably some more somewhere, probably in the attic or something. But there you go, there is an idea on all of the instruments that I currently own. So there you have it, there are all of my instruments that I've got at the moment. I think it would be cool to kind of number them and then let people choose which instruments I should use in later videos. So I'm probably going to do that at some point. However, this video was just a nice big tour for you to get an idea on all of the instruments that I've got at the moment. I have had other instruments, I've had quite a lot of other guitars, but I've also owned banjos in the past. And I've had a piano and an organ. Obviously this doesn't cover other equipment. I've just shown you the instruments. I've got plenty of like microphones and leads and mixers and audio interfaces and all sorts of random other things that relate to music as well. But unless you're nerdy about your music gear, I don't think you'll be interested in all the different types of microphone and stuff I've got. So yeah, that is an introduction to me and my instrument world. As for what I'd say I could play well, I would leave that down to guitar and bass and ukulele. I would say if you don't play any other instruments, then on piano, keyboard and drums I probably seem pretty good. Again, if you don't play any instruments, I might seem okay on saxophone as well. However, if you do play those instruments, I probably seem pretty bad. because I've just found where the notes are and I've taken my music knowledge and skills of guitar and kind of passed them on to other instruments. It's the great thing about understanding music from a theory background and how notes relate to each other, because then as soon as you find another instrument and you can work out where the notes are, you can kind of play some stuff on it, even if it's not a recognised tune. So yeah, there is the world of Rory. I think I have covered everything. As always, any questions about anything that I've got in here, any fun ideas, leave them in the comments, like, subscribe, all of that madness, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!